I think I didn't do anything wrong, just reacted to being ignored. But then he showed up early, my husband standing in the doorway, seeing me and his best friend where he should have been. And now I'm the one everyone's blaming while he's the one filing papers. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I didn't plan for it to happen that night. I just felt tired of being ignored. Marcus said he'd be home by 8, but the clock hit 10, and I was still sitting there in full makeup, dinner gone cold. Eli was already on the couch, saying how Marcus always took me for granted. I laughed because it was true. One glass of wine turned into 2. I told Eli I was done being the waiting wife. He said Marcus was lucky to have someone like me. I asked if he really thought so, and he nodded. Maybe that's when I decided it wasn't really cheating, just reclaiming what I deserved. Marcus had made me feel invisible for months, always working, always too tired. So when Eli touched my hand, I didn't stop him. It felt like proof that I could still be wanted. I told myself it would teach Marcus a lesson. He needed to know what it felt like to be the one left behind. The house was quiet except for the sound of rain and my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I remember thinking how poetic it was. His best friend showing me the attention he'd forgotten to give. It wasn't about love, it was about balance. I kept telling myself that as Eli kissed me, that this was fair. That if Marcus had just come home when he said he would, none of this would have happened. Then I heard the door open. For a second, I thought it was thunder, but it was him, Marcus, standing in the doorway, eyes blank, jaw tight. He didn't shout or ask questions. He just looked. One long, wordless look that burned worse than any scream could have. And that's how everything ended before I even realized it began. The next morning, the house felt too clean, like he'd erased himself overnight. His shoes were gone from the hallway, his side of the bed perfectly smooth. I made coffee just to fill the silence. When Marcus finally came downstairs, he didn't look at me. He poured his cup, checked his watch, and said he'd be working late again. That was it. No questions, no anger, just distance wrapped in calm. I told him we needed to talk, that last night wasn't what it looked like. He said, "I saw enough," without raising his voice. I tried to sound strong, told him he had abandoned me long before I did anything wrong. He didn't argue, just nodded, like he was letting me hang myself with my own words. After he left, I called my sister Tara. She said maybe he just needed time. I told her he'd pushed me into this, that I'd been lonely for months. She stayed quiet, which irritated me more than judgment would have. Then Naomi, his mother, called. Her voice was sharp and cold. "You think you've won, but he's not the kind of man who yells. He's the kind who plans." I laughed it off, until I saw the envelope on the counter with my name on it. By the weekend, I decided to take control of the story. Marcus wasn't answering my calls, but I knew he'd show up at the restaurant. It was our friend's regular dinner, and I made sure to arrive early, dressed like nothing had happened. When they asked where Marcus was, I said he needed space because some men can't handle mistakes. People laughed awkwardly, and I took another sip of wine, pretending it didn't sting. I told them he'd blown things out of proportion, that one bad night shouldn't ruin a marriage. A few even nodded, like they believed me. Then the door opened. Marcus walked in, calm as ever, suit pressed, eyes unreadable. Conversations died mid-sentence. He greeted everyone politely, even me, before sitting down. I tried to act casual, but my throat was dry. He thanked everyone for coming, said he wanted to make things clear, and placed a brown envelope on the table in front of me. I forced a smile, said something about how dramatic he was being, but my hands were shaking. When he left, no one spoke. I finally opened it. Inside were official-looking papers, legal separation, preliminary custody filings, and one quiet note in his handwriting. "For your peace, not mine." 2 days later, I sat across from him in a lawyer's office that smelled like paper and disinfectant. I'd dressed carefully, pale blouse, soft voice, everything to remind him of the woman he used to protect. Marcus didn't look at me once. He focused on the documents, asking calm, practical questions, while his lawyer explained asset division. I interrupted, saying we didn't need all this, that we could fix things ourselves. He said only, "We already tried that." I tried crying. It used to work. I told him he'd driven me to it, that I'd felt invisible for months. His lawyer slid a folder across the table. Photos printed from our own home camera system, time-stamped, undeniable. My breath caught. He'd known before that night. He'd waited, planned. Naomi sat in the corner, arms folded, eyes full of quiet satisfaction. I said he could at least be angry instead of hiding behind lawyers. He finally met my eyes and said, "Anger is temporary. I wanted something permanent." Then he stood, signed the last page, and walked out. The room felt smaller after he left. I realized too late that he wasn't trying to punish me. He was finishing the story I started. I told myself I wasn't going to let him win. People believe what they see, so I made sure they saw a woman holding it together. I posted pictures with Chloe at the park, wrote captions about forgiveness and new beginnings. My friends commented hearts. A few even messaged saying I was brave. I almost believed it myself. But then the sympathy started thinning out. Someone must have told them Marcus had filed first. Suddenly, people were quieter, polite, but distant. Even Tara stopped replying as much. When she finally called, her voice was cautious. She said Marcus wasn't talking badly about me. He was just showing people things. I asked what she meant. She said there were screenshots, messages between Eli and me. "He had all of it, Sarah," she whispered, "even before that night." I hung up and started shaking. I went online and deleted everything, but it was too late. The comments had turned sharp. "She's only sorry she got caught," one said. Naomi's friends were liking every post Marcus made about moving forward and protecting peace. He'd taken the narrative from me without ever speaking a word. Then a letter arrived. Court papers again. He was requesting full custody of Chloe, citing emotional instability. I laughed when I read it, then cried so hard I scared myself. I tried to call him, begged to meet, said he couldn't separate a child from her mother. He didn't answer. That night I checked our old bank account. My access was frozen. Everything practical, everything solid, he'd already handled. I thought he'd be the one breaking down while I stood proud. Instead, I was sitting in a half-empty house, scrolling through pictures of the man I'd tried to humiliate, and realizing he was the only one still standing. At the courthouse, the air felt colder than outside. Marcus stood by the door, calm as always, holding Chloe's hand. I tried to speak, to remind him of everything we'd shared, but he only looked at me with that same quiet distance. I said he was ruining our daughter's life out of pride. He said softly, "No, I'm saving it from chaos." The clerk handed me the finalized decree. Divorce granted, custody awarded, accounts settled. Naomi placed a hand on his shoulder and led Chloe away. Marcus turned once before leaving and said, almost gently, "This is what peace looks like. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.